Trustee Wells,
Here.
Trustee Lawson,
Here.
Trustee Marquez,
Here.
Vice President Diaz-Slocum,
Here.
President McAvoy.
Present. All righty. So let's see, we just came out of closed session and we didn't have any oral communication. Let's see, closed session, 3.1, we accepted the staff recommendation. And then 3.2 and 3.3, we heard from staff and accepted their recommendations. All right, and I just reported out. Okay, so welcome. Let me handle the welcome first. So I'm kind of unclear how people are getting Spanish translation. I see a button down here, but then I think I was told earlier today that they call in. So if somebody could clarify it and maybe say it in Spanish for our Spanish speaking friends, that would be terrific.
So we have Gonzalo. Oh, go ahead. We have both Gonzalo and Itzel here tonight. And I think
Right.
Yeah, I think it would be great. Gonzalo, can you explain, please? Because the interpretation button seems not to work for us.
Well, I think they had trouble last time speaking to us, right? Because they're on a phone call or something. I'm not sure.
Right.
Gonzalo or Itzel, can you? I think they're calling in, and if they are, I think it's si necesita interpretación al español, por favor llama al. I hope this is correct.
well, Gonzalo is on, but you just can't hear him. He's doing the interpretation. We can't hear him because he's doing it.
Right. Yes, but the phone number you have, President McAvoy, in the chat is correct.
Okay, so 978 990-5137 y presione, gracias, 837-7041 pound.
Muy bien.
Thank you. Thank you.
But it is in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat again.
No, I think that's right. I think that there's just a different channel for them to listen to the interpreters.
Great.
If I hear
Yeah,
it correct.
Yeah, I think for some reason our button's not working on the bottom. Okay, I think we covered that. But anyway, thank you everyone for being here. And I also just want to personally say thanks to all of our parents and teachers and staff and community members that have been so involved in so many different working groups and meetings that we've had the last couple of weeks. We've had equity workshops, we've had cafecitos, we've had the Superintendent's Advisory Committee, many forums where people are really helping us, I think, make better decisions, but also being really thoughtful about providing us ideas they have on how we can get reopened, how we can do remote learning, how we can be more equitable. And I just want to say, you know, on behalf of the board and district staff, those of us here tonight, we really do appreciate all the helpful resources you're providing us, as well as just all the input you're giving us. So thank you so much for all of that. So on to the business. I have posted some things in the chat to help you if you'd like to make comments. If you want to speak to the board, please fill out the Google Doc, and there is a comment link in the chat. And you'll have 3 minutes tonight because we don't have that many speakers. And if you need translation, you'll have more time. And if the item is not on the agenda, then you'll be called under oral communication. And as a reminder, this is a board meeting for board business. We're trying to keep the district running and keep the board business going. However, particularly with COVID and with virtual meetings, we're really opening it up, and we've had a lot more community participation, which is great. We really value that. And so please do, comment if you like. And then I would like to just remind folks to please be respectful. I think we've been doing a great job lately, which is really wonderful. And we do believe that your comments will help us get to a better place. So thank you. And I also want to remind you that while we cannot prevent members of the public from commenting, even if their words are untrue, hurtful, or simply not helpful, I would ask that when you speak to the board, please be mindful of your words and tone, And think of it if your own student or students were watching us. And again, I think we've been doing a great job lately, so it's just a gentle reminder. And let's see, we do have the chat feature open. And so you're able to chat to the panelists. We do see your chats. I do ask, just because we're trying to listen to the speakers and such, that if you could use that wisely, again, maybe for a quick question or a comment, that is helpful. So we do appreciate getting those. And as a reminder, all the votes will be roll call votes since we're virtual, and we are recording the meeting tonight. And I think I covered everything in the welcome. Janet, anything I missed?
No, I think you got everything. There was a question in the chat to repost the doc for the speaker card, so I just posted that again in the chat.
Thank you. Yeah, because I know as people come on, if you don't mind doing that a few times, maybe for the next 5 or 10 minutes, Janet, that would be helpful. If you don't mind. So I do know as people come on, they don't see the chat before they get here. So, all righty. So changes to the agenda.
Did we want to move 14.3 and 14.4 to consent? I don't know if we have discussion on it here.
So that's the approval of the personnel report and approval of this certificated seniority report.
Yeah.
Anyone have any problems with that?
That's fine with me if those are ones that we're allowed to move.
Yeah, and let me just make sure that I don't see any comments real quick on this. Sorry, I'm getting used to my system that I've got set up and I can't move it. I didn't see any comments earlier on it, so, okay. So, yeah, so we'll move 14.3 and 14.4 to consent. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, Maria and Mike. All those in favor?
Are we going to do a roll call vote?
Yeah, roll call vote. Sorry, that's what I meant, but.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Solcombe,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. Okay, oral communication. I do think we have a speaker card here. So let's see, I think we'll start with Sue Jorgensen. I think you wanted to talk about the budget and it's not on the agenda tonight, so go ahead.
President McAvoy?
Yeah.
I think you might be seeing speakers cards from past board meetings. For tonight, we only have 2 speakers cards submitted by Maria Stockton, and she requested that one of her speakers cards be removed.
So what's odd is I'm seeing a timestamp of February 10th, 2021 for Sue. Is she on the participant list? Let me just
I know
look.
that happened once before.
She,
When I called on somebody, they said that they hadn't submitted a
Oh,
card.
so maybe it's not populating correctly then.
There are 5 entries to the speakers cards. They're all at some point today. The last one was submitted right at 7 o'clock. The first one was submitted about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I see 5 entries right now.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and pull up Sue? I see her on the participant list, Sue Jorgensen.
Okay.
I'm here.
Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Welcome.
Yeah, I actually was like, when I'm here. Thank you. I want to talk about a line item for a budget for the libraries, and this came about all within the last couple of days. That kind of forced the issue. One, I see that you have a special board meeting on Friday to start the budget talks. So I saw that, and I'm working Friday, so I can't attend that. And then I also am on the equity committee, and that has been a great place for me to learn some really challenging things, and yet I really enjoyed being a part of it. and it came up there also. And then at the very same time that I was doing the last equity meeting, there was an email thread going around among my colleagues as we're trying to take advantage of a $150 sale from one of our vendors. And despite many asks, like, do we have this budget? It's been no. Maybe next year, you guys don't have a line item. We'll try to get you in the line item. And finally, I thought, if no one knows that the libraries don't have a line item in the budget, it's never going to change. And we have found that the funding for us has been inconsistent and insufficient. Last year, we got $1,000. That was wonderful, but that was for all our supplies, all the books. This year, we lost quite a few books in the pandemic, and that's now been put on individual site councils to decide if they're going to fund that lost amount. Some are doing it. I have to say that Anna Herrera, my principal, was spot on and got that moving, and I totally appreciate it. But that hasn't been the case for the rest of my schools, and that's not okay. And right now there's a GoFundMe drive over for the Hoover Library because of the depletion of that site. And the inconsistency is really frustrating. And yet at the same time, we have other sites who can write $5,000 checks to the library to buy. They get more funds after that if they need it. Today I was filling orders for students and found that just because of the losses, I was unable to, for every 2 books I filled, I probably was not able to fill one because it's lost. And we've been directed by the district, not to charge parents, and yet we don't have the money, and we don't even have the money to buy book tape or book covers. And this is part of our job. And I don't think there's any other group that has a zero budget to do their job. And I just wanted to present that tonight, and thank you for listening.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sue, for bringing that to our attention. And Dr. Baker, what's the next steps? I guess we'll fold that conversation into the budget conversations we're having.
Correct.
Yeah. And certainly, Sue, I'm glad you're on the equity committee, and you can certainly bring up some of the issues you mentioned tonight. And then we'll incorporate that into the budget discussions that we're having, Dr. Baker and the board, and Zilla, our wonderful CBO. Okay, so thank you. All right. So I think that's all we have on oral communication. So let's see. Oh, we're on to one of my favorite parts of the agenda. So we're going to have our student work, celebrating our wonderful students. And tonight we've got the virtual winter concert that happened back in December. And I believe Carol McNamara was going to be on the call. Let me see if she's here and we could bring her on so we could hear her. She's one of our wonderful music teachers. I don't see Carol on here.
She has her hand.
I just enabled her.
Oh, there we go. You're already here. Hi, Carol. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Maybe speak just a little louder.
Oh, okay. I'll turn up my microphone.
Yes. Yeah. So welcome so much. I thought you could introduce what we're going to hear tonight. And I think I sent you an email. We'll be listening to a couple of the pieces.
Right. And I'll explain how the process that we've gone through this year. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing these recordings. I'm very proud of how well all of my students have done and how we were able to put these together. It is amazing that we were able to make recordings of the full orchestra playing together when we have been all alone. We've been playing alone at home since last March. So I have synchronous classes with my students using Google Meet, but we cannot play together on Zoom or Meet due to the lag time with the internet. So we've come up with ways to make it work. Sometimes all of my students are muted and I play and they follow along with me. Or a student sometimes leads the class, or we play along with recordings. To make the recordings that we're going to listen to tonight, I used a website, or we used a website called Soundtrap, which is a digital audio workstation, or DAW. I make background tracks for the students to play along with, where I play most of the instruments like flute, clarinet, violin, and my students play along with the recordings in our music classes, on their own at home to practice, and to submit recordings so that I can hear how each individual student is doing. After we've recorded small sections of the songs we are learning, the students record themselves playing the entire song. And I take each separate recording track of the entire song and put them together. And then we have the finished group project MP3. All of our RCSD music teachers are using Soundtrap this year in different ways. Aaron Washburn is using it in their electronic music classes. And at Kennedy Middle School, Andre Bollig is using it in similar ways to my classes. And Julia Federico Youngs is creating full song recordings just as I do. I need to publicly thank Julia for helping me learn how to use all of this new technology. Just like everyone else, we were thrown into a new world, and I'm very proud of how we have adapted. And the song that you're going to hear tonight, the two songs you're going to hear tonight, I have literally been playing with my students for over 30 years, but now in such a new way. So I'm proud that, like I always say, that I'm the old dog with new tricks. So the old dog is the music, and then we're using our new tricks to be able to perform together.
That is wonderful. Carol, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And Kyle, are you ready to play?
Yes, I'm going to play. I need to get, President McAvoy, if you can give me a thumbs up if you can hear this, so because I'm running it through the microphone on my computer. And here's the second one.
All right, everybody's clapping. Well, thank you so much, Ms. McNamara, for coming tonight. And thank you to the students for your performance. Really wonderful. I know in years past, we've been able to actually go to the the winter concerts in person. So this was the next best thing, getting the virtual concert. So thank you. All right. So we'll move on to the next item. Thanks, Carol. All right, so the next item is bond program consent items. We need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Janet and then Cecilia. Roll call, please.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Slocum,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Diaz. Thanks for answering all my questions this week too. Appreciate it. Okay, because I don't think we had any action items tonight on the bond. No. Okay, so we're at the discussion on COVID-19.
So good evening, everyone. So we are going to start out tonight with a couple of presentations, I should say several presentations by some of our schools that do have students in person at this point in time. So I believe, Wendy, are you sharing do you want to start? Perfect. So we're going to give an update on reopening, but before that, we want to definitely move on to the highlights of the evening, which is definitely the piece where you get to hear from principals and from teachers about what's happening at their school sites this evening. So we have Adelante Selby, who's up first, and we have Mr. Cedar, Warren Cedar, who is the principal. And he will be also, I believe, a teacher will be accompanying him in regard to what they're going to be talking about. So Warren, we're going to open it up to you. So if you want to go back to the first slide, Wendy, and then let Warren, if we can let Warren in.
Buenas noches, can you hear me?
Of course.
Good evening, it's Director Warren from Adelante Selby. Liz Wolf and Dr. Baker asked me to talk a little bit about students learning in person at our school. And it's been great personally, as we felt so isolated with the pandemic, to be able to connect with students again on the site. So we're very thankful to the staff and teachers that have stepped up to come to work at school with our students. Since really the middle of August, late August, we've had roughly 60 students at our school, thanks to our strong partnership with the REACH program, Recreation and Parks. I work closely with Cesar Zuniga to place students. We had 5, we're calling them pods. I know the terminology gets a little difficult, but the REACH classrooms of students we're calling pods. Those rooms have some advantages because they have 2 leaders per pod. We have 1 kindergarten pod, 1 first and second grade pod, 1 second and third grade pod, 1 third grade pod, and 1 fourth and fifth grade pod. And they've been going along since mid-August, and it's been just a great, strong partnership. We really appreciate them. They kind of handle it themselves, but we're able to interact with them. If they need help, we're there to support them. And then a couple weeks ago, like the rest of the district, we started up with some classroom in-person instruction. We have 5 teachers that have returned in hybrid option 3, more terminology. Basically, they're working with up to 14 students, half the classroom because of the social distancing, physical distancing requirements. half the day. They go basically from 8 to 11:30. The third grade goes from 8 to 11:45, and the second grade goes from 8 to 11:30. And so that's been going well. And then we also additionally have what we call hubs. And one of them is actually a teacher in 4th grade, is Maestra Eleanor. And because our 4th and 5th grade program is more like a middle school, the students have 4 different teachers and they're content specific. It's better for her and the students to be in a hub format. So they're all day 8 to 3, that hub. And we have 2 district hired subs teachers, and thank you to Dr. Linda Montez for her support in that program. One is funded by the school district in 5th grade, and the other one is funded by Unidos PTO in 1st grade. And it feels like family. That leader, Mr. Sub teacher, is Mr. Ortega. He's actually my former student, and he's one of our special ed teachers, beloved special ed teachers, Maria Benevente's son, Facundo Ortega. So it's been great seeing him work with the 1st graders. So we have roughly 150 students on campus, and it's been really wonderful to have them there. It's a team effort. I see the cafeteria putting the lunches together. My yard duties are doing a phenomenal job delivering the meals. The nurses have been helping out with when we do the COVID testing. So it's just been really a team effort. I enjoy doing yard duty. So it's just been a really good experience to date. Can you go to the next slide? So here I put some pictures together, and I had wanted to start off the upper left there. We feel blessed to have some upgrades at our school, and the picture in the upper left there is our new office space. So encourage you to come and visit. Of course, you have to do your wellness screening and have your temperature checked and wash your hands, but happy to walk you around the new campus, the new office space. And I wanted to thank Don Diaz, the Bond Oversight Committee, and everyone for their support. It's been really wonderful. I'm not going to go in order until the very end. I'm going to go to Susie's classroom in the top right. That was early on in the school year. That's a REACH student. I believe that's a kindergartner. It's one of the first days that she was there at the school, and she needed some help logging on, figuring out how to log on with her iPad. So I happened to be over there. In the bottom center is the REACH classroom with Catherine, who's one of our leaders, and she's excellent. It's Crazy Hair Day. I don't know if you can see them, and she's helping one of the students in her classroom. And the REACH leaders have been great. They set up expectations. They're really positive. They have multiple schedules that the students have to follow, so you can see them up on the board. Every student has a different schedule of where and when they meet with their different teachers. So they've just been wonderful. And then they have a student store on Friday focusing on things like mask wearing and appropriate behavior. So they've been very positive. To the right bottom there, we had a little rain last week. So that was kind of challenging how to socially distance at snack time. So we used our covered hallways. The lower left, believe it or not, those students are socially or physically distanced. I had somebody ask me about that, but it's a collage picture. It was the 100th day of school last week. So this just kind of highlights, every year the students do their 100-day crowns. We have them in Espanol, 100 días más inteligentes. And I think it just highlights that they're just happy to be at school, and the interaction is really key in a safe environment. And then the top picture in the center is Maestra Susie's 3rd graders. And this is a picture, and we have a video embedded here. I want to thank publicly Susie and Sylvia in particular. I challenged them to try to look for opportunities to teach both the distance learners and the in-person students simultaneously. So this was just a couple weeks ago, one of the first days of school. We were doing iReady testing, not the most exciting thing, but she was hosting the meet with the students at home, and the students in class were taking the iReady test. So you can see, and her class is full. She's 14 students, and then the students on the TV screen are at home. The students on the TV screen can't see the students in the classroom. They see her. I wanted to clarify that. And then if Wendy Kelly, I think, is running the slideshow, there's a video. If you click the picture, the center picture, there's a YouTube video of Maestra Susie leading a chant. Hopefully it works.
Here we go.
Anticipation. Yeah, that's it. Oh, but the Wi-Fi is a little slow maybe. Oh no. There it goes. Wi-Fi issues. You get to experience what our teachers and students experience every day, everyone in the audience, the glitch, the technology glitch. Darn. Shoot. Oh, well. Well, you can see she's leading them through a chant on landforms in Spanish, and the students are at home following along with her, and the students in the classroom. Too bad the Wi-Fi signal is not strong enough to show the video, but I'd be happy to forward it to the school board. And I'm just really impressed with Maestra Susie, all the staff. You know, this was the third week of school, and she's already trying to bring both the distance learners and the students in person together. And these are SEAL. This is a SEAL strategy, the SEAL chant. Oh, I'm bummed that you can't hear or see it or really see it, but you get the idea. And I think Maestra Susie said she would try to be on the meet. I don't know if she's on or not.
I don't know if she's here. Let's see.
It's too bad you can't see the video. Oh. But you do get to experience the glitch.
Well, and Susie is there, so she let me know she's there. So
okay.
Kyle just needs to unmute her.
Okay.
Yeah, I can you guys hear me? I'm here.
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Maestra Susie Wood, as Warren already mentioned, and that's my classroom. And I returned to in-person teaching on February 25th. So it's been about 2.5 weeks. And I am so happy to be back in the classroom. The kids are really happy. I can tell they're smiling, although I can't see it through their masks. The first day of school that they came in, they had big wide eyes and they were looking at the bulletin boards and saying, oh, the bulletin boards are so nice. Oh, the classroom is so nice. And they really appreciate being back, and it's really a joy to be back with them. It's going well as far as in person when I'm teaching my lessons. I of course have all my resources there with me, and when we're doing interaction, I use the whiteboard a lot so I can get some feedback from them to see if they're understanding what I'm doing. And then when I go around to check, on the independent work time, it's great because there's 13 kids and I actually have time to go around and see if they're getting what I'm teaching, give a little feedback, see where they need help, give a little help, and actually get around to everyone, which obviously pre-COVID with 28 to 30 students, rarely happened. So that is awesome. The schedule is working out. It's very short schedule. As Warren mentioned, 8:15 to 11:45. I have 3 blocks. And at the beginning, the kids were kind of looking at the clock, like what time? It seemed like a long day to them, even though it was a really short day. But they're building up stamina, and now it's getting to like, oh, it's already time to go home, So I think it's very challenging for the parents, the hours, but the parents are making it work, and it's working well. The challenges around social distancing, obviously, Talking through the masks is really hard. It's really hard to, sometimes it's hard to hear the kids. So they have to really speak up, and that's a challenge. It's a challenge for me, double masking, and just sometimes it's really hard to get air, but I'm building up stamina as well. I would love to have more plexiglass and have a reading station in front of my desk. What you see on the picture is at my workstation, and I do have a plexiglass there that Mr. Cedar purchased, and that was great. But I would love to have one more so I could actually kind of lean in and read one-on-one with kids at when we have some independent work, and not have to be so, 6 feet apart and, it's so loud, them having to read so loud. That would be a little bit more natural. If we could get that in place, that would be great. The challenges, as Warren mentioned as well, is, merging the two groups. I want to, still keep them as a cohesive group, even though I'm working with one group in the morning, the second group in the afternoon. I still want to keep that together time and making it meaningful for both groups, and beneficial for both groups as well. So that's a work in progress, but I feel like it's going well. The technology, the big screen, I can use that to present. If I'm reading a book and we're doing notes together, I can use the big screen to present to my in-person learners, and also I'm presenting the same thing to my kids at home. So we can do reading together, taking notes, highlighting, searching for nouns or verbs or whatever we're doing. So the technology is working really well. And yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really happy to be back.
And your families are happy that you are back. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Susie, can I ask you one question? What do you mean by one more plexiglass? Is that plexiglass that will move from student to student? Is that how
What I was hoping for is a plexiglass around my desk, and I can have I do have a little desk in front of my desk. That's not my desk that you see, that's my workstation. I have a teacher desk over on the other side. And that would be great for me to just pull a kid and say, okay, I want to hear you read, get an idea of their fluency, obviously comprehension, and one-on-one, and be closer than 6 feet. So I would love to have one more plexiglass.
Okay.
That would be great. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. It did.
Okay.
Any other questions for Susie from the board? I guess not. Is there another?
I guess I'll say no questions, just a big thank you, Susie, Maestra Susie, for everything that you've done for your students. So it's really appreciated.
Thank you.
Is there another slide for Alda?
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience, and thanks for being back in the class with the kids. Looks like you're all having a good time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, and now we're going on to Henry Ford with Dr. Al Rosell, who's the principal. And I think he also brought someone with him to give some information. Oh, I'm sorry, is there, Warren, did I cut you off? I'm not running the slideshow. Was that Warren? I don't know. Okay, Dr. Rosell.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Al.
Hi. So we are so excited to be able to have so many students back on campus, and several classrooms. We started with a pilot program back in November, kind of built upon that. So as you can see, we currently have 2 kinders, 2 first grades, 1 third, 1 fifth, and we have 1 SDC, 3rd through 5th, and we have a 4th grade, but they are tentatively on hold. We're hoping that they could start after the spring, should I say, the winter break that we're having, but it may be a week or 2 longer And I can talk to you a little bit more as to why, but they are committed as soon as some things are in place. So in total, in actual classrooms, 141 students in these classrooms. We have what we could say maybe one pod from the Reach that takes students after class. And we have 2 hubs that we're really grateful working with Dr. Montes that we were able to start a 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then we realized that that went well and we opened up a 1st and 2nd. And so several of those students that currently are going to school go to the hub, and some of the students that are in the hub, their teacher is distance teaching, so they remain in the hub. As you know, they come 5 days a week, and the hub teacher has been great because they're not just watching the kids, but they're actually helping them, guiding them along. They actually are doing lessons with them to try to help them understand some of the work. That's the whole purpose why the hubs were needed. Kids that are just having a tough time focusing at home with its distraction, and now they can come to school and have their own desk and even have someone that can be there to help them as they follow their teachers online, or if they're attending class, then they're able to return to class or before class and be able to do their work there in the hub. This is just a few of our little pictures that kind of show how we have the kids eating. If you go down below, you'll see that we only have 2 kids eating per table when they go out for their snack or lunch. You could see how the kids, they, you know, up the upper left-hand corner as they were looking as I took that picture. But look at the our 2 aides over to the right and left. They're actually with plexiglass in front of them. They're able to see a couple or one student have that protected gear. And that's in our special ed class, and that's just going extremely well. These kids in special ed and SDC really needed to be back, and we're grateful for the work that the teachers and the aides are doing with the students. We have a little video, I think, and hopefully it's going to work to give you an idea of a 3rd grade classroom and what it might look like. And I'll just kind of walk you through it if it gets going. So as you could see, the kids are just working right along, working as they should be. What I was impressed is how they really needed to be back, how we could see, and I think it's a little hard with the video but you could see how they're highlighting, if you saw that, learning what they need to do. It's kind of hard for the teachers to see oftentimes when they're on camera on distance, but you know, they're doing what they need to do as if we were back, because we are back in class with them. And even the opportunity to do some little artwork. This represents each one of them. If you saw that was quick, but they even are able to do a little bit of an artwork. So we are excited. They are excited to be back on campus. And I do believe that we have one of our teachers who's teaching in the 1st grade, Ms. Wilkerson, and I believe we may have one of our parents who has a child in the 1st and 3rd grade. And I believe they're going to say a few words. So if Abby Wilkerson is here, I'm going to let her say a few words, and then if there's any questions, or if there's any questions before we get to them, be glad to answer them.
Hi, so my name is Abby Wilkerson and I teach 1st grade and I am fully in person. So I have 13 children in the morning session and then 9 children in the afternoon session. And so they go in and clean in the middle. And overall, going back for me has been a pretty positive experience. From the teacher standpoint, it's been nice to just physically see and interact with my students. Like the other teacher mentioned, you're just immediately able to help and correct, praise, and support the students, which is just hard to do online, and something that as a teacher I was really missing, because you don't get to see what they're physically doing in front of them until they get to turn it in. And then in first grade, we've just been able to do more hands-on activities and just exposing them to more literature, just a lot of different activities that we just previously weren't able to do in distant learning. And then just from the kids' perspective, I've just seen their love for school come back. I've been so impressed with them since day one. They keep their masks on all day long, they social distance. We have a lot of new classroom rules because of COVID. Obviously, desks are 6 feet apart, and they've just been rolling with the punches. They're just so happy to be back. Some kids stay quietly at their desk. Others are just more than happy to talk to people that are 12 feet away. So it's really just fun to see them just be happy to be back and see their friends. And there's just a lot more classroom participation and engagement. Just things that were normal before COVID that just were difficult online, or it's just nice to see again in person. And then for the kids, a lot of kids, the socialization part, at least when they're little, is a huge part of them being back. And then for other kids, it's just having a consistent place to work that is quiet, and I'm there to help them, that not all kids had when they were home. So for many different kids, being back at school means a lot of different things. But overall, we're doing great. And one boy said to me on the second day, he was like, I just love being at school again. And as a teacher, that's, sometimes heartbreaking to hear, because it was a hard time for them to be distant learning, but it's also really joyful to hear that they like being back at school and they're happy. Definitely, it comes with a lot of challenges and precautions that we face every day, but those are just some of the positives that we have seen in first grade. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Abby. That's great. That's wonderful. Al, I think there was a parent that you said that wanted to speak.
I believe if Chuck Walters, if he was able to join us.
Yeah, Chuck is here.
Hello.
And Chuck is our school site council president. So I'm going to let him speak.
Hello, are you all, yeah, I guess you can all hear me. Yeah, hi, my name's Chuck Walter. I was asked by Dr. Rizal to speak today. I have two students at Henry Ford, my 6 and 8-year-olds, and they are in the first grade with Miss Wilkerson, and the third grade with Miss King now. It used to be with Mr. Borg before back to school in-person learning. Overall, I think it's been going well. It's been a learning process for the parents and the kids and everyone at Henry Ford, I'm sure. The first week, check-in was a little chaotic. It was a lot of processes we had to learn, a lot of things everyone had to kind of get used to doing, but it's super smooth now. And it's just as quick as it probably was, before all this, to get your kid in. They get their temperatures, they check, make sure the forms are filled out, and the kids are off. They wave by, they barely even say goodbye to me. They're in there. The online forms that we fill out every day are fine. I think that's good. My only complaint is I wish that it was kind of like an app-based thing. I use a lot of those for various work jobs, and it's just so easy to on some of these app ones, they remember your details and you can just go in and click from your phone and you're in. We have been doing the COVID testing at school. That's been going well. We take advantage of it every time we can with the kids. We are really happy about the new rapid antigen test that's coming soon. Overall, our experience has been good, and my kids overall are happy, definitely happy with it all. We're happy that there's just less screen time for them, getting them back in school. The kids are happy. They see their classmates, their teachers. And the amazing thing, the first week back, both of my kids, they slept. They went to bed and they actually slept well. And that it's been a long time since we'd seen that. I do wish the hours were longer. I'd love to, have a longer day, but I totally understand it's a monumental task to get all this done. I talked to my kids today about it all. Their only complaints are things that can't be changed right now. And that's the masks, obviously. They wish they didn't have those. And they want to run the whole playground and all that. And they want to see all their friends. But they had nothing. They loved it. They seemed, they genuinely seem happy to be back, which is great to see. It's funny that just today, today's an asynchronous day for us at Henry Ford on Wednesday. So we're totally back home with the kids. And my 6-year-old, my youngest, struggles sometimes with these and likes to procrastinate, and, her day gets longer and longer. And we were having kind of a tough time with her. And I kind of asked her, I was like, well, how do you get all this done at school? And she looked at me without a beat and said, it's just easier for me to do my work at school, Dad. So, I mean, that kind of said it all to me. So yeah, I mean, to close, I just want to thank all the teachers and staff for, working so hard on this and giving us this option to get these kids back. We just think it's just super important to get this option. I mean, I know it's not for everyone. There are risks with everything, but the school and staff has done a great job with it all so far. Obviously there's more that can be done, and there's a lot of things that still need to be figured out, but so far it's been great. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much. Any questions from board members? Comments?
I would just like to say thank you to all of them. I think every time I hear the presentations, I'm just so amazed and grateful for all the work that everyone is doing to get our students back on campus. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you for all your support.
I was gonna save it for the end because I think there's a common theme that I'm seeing here that is really, really nice to see is the support in the hubs and the pods. We saw it at both sites. I imagine we're going to see it on the third one, from crazy hair day to the social interactions at lunchtime. Like they're doing a lot, right? And I think that those are really positives. But thanks for the teachers that are coming in. I'm glad to see that all the mechanisms that we're bringing the students back onto campus are really filling in, the need there. So that's great.
Great. Thank you, Al. And thank you, Walter and Abby. Thanks so much.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I had a question for Abby. So she has a full class of in person. So was that sort of an arrangement with another class? Because I know for the most part, when we've opened in person, it seems like about half the students want to come back and half want to remain in remote learning. So I'm just curious how you got full.
Yeah, so a lot of my parents, actually a lot of them wanted to come back, and then a lot of them just wanted to follow whatever I did. So I think as far as like my original class, the majority of them came to me. I had about 6 kids that wanted to remain distant. And then we have one fully distant other first grade teacher, Mrs. Wenzel, Mrs. Morris. And she had about 6 or 7 kids that wanted to come in person. And so it was kind of it just worked out kind of perfectly with the trade. And then our third first grade teacher was split out the middle. So just kind of numbers just worked out. So I lost some kids, but gained kind of the same amount of kids back.
And that
great.
was,
thank you. Thank you so much for the explanation. Go ahead, Dr. Baker.
And that was similar to what we heard from Amy, who's also at Henry Ford, and we heard on Monday evening. Remember when they decided to come back in the pilot, how kids had to move because some wanted to be in person and some didn't want to be in person. So it created, like for herself, she actually had, I believe, less students when she started in person, but because the other kindergarten teacher was doing distance learning, and some of hers wanted to go to in person, so it created more students for her class than what she had at the beginning. So it's when schools start and they all start looking at this individually, what's going to meet their site. And so they have to plan according to grade level to offer it to the grade level and then determine, because we have some parents that definitely do not want their kids back. and some definitely want them in person, which we all want them to come back in person. But there are still some parents that are very hesitant, as you'll see, as we saw at our last board meeting, when Anna spoke, and when you're talking about the equity piece and you're talking about the Bayside, all those students that want to come to school on the Bayside, when we're talking equity, those families sent their kids. There are families, though, that did not, and they're so afraid to come to school because of the virus. And as stated previously, I think at Monday night's meeting, those families are concerned that we see that kids are getting tested. We, you know, if the parents allow us to, they'll get tested every other week. Same with adults. But what is fearful for them is, especially when at Taft or at Garfield, we have had to close a classroom because a student or an adult has tested positive, and the students are quarantined for 14 days along with the teacher at the same time. And for parents who are working every day, do not have sick leave, cannot work from home, it's more of an issue for them. And especially if, say, the positive case were to transmit in that family where they're living, then that creates more of an issue, especially when some of our families are living 2 and 3 together. So that's a whole piece that schools have to work through with their communities to determine, you know, those that really feel going to take the chance, they're going to come back. We have all the mitigating protocols are in place. And as we continue to learn from science, we know that even if there is a positive case in the classroom by a student, it's not transmitted throughout the school, or it's even in the classroom. We've seen kids go home for 14 days, come back, they've been retested through their physician or through any of the county facilities, and there's no COVID, they're negative. So we start up again. But there's that piece that, you know, you have to work with, and we see that happening at all of our school sites. Ms. Figaro's class, who was a kindergarten class here with Amy, it was, and I think it was, we came back, they came after, you know, January 19th, we came back, I think they were in for a week, if I'm not mistaken, and Al would know this better than myself, and then we had to close it because a student tested positive. So they're ready to come back right after this next break. So it's a little give and take, but it does work. That's what I want to emphasize. It does work, and you see the kids that are happy, and I know parents really want this to open up more in other school sites, and we'll talk about that a little later on. But I just want to thank Al and Abby and also Chuck for coming forth and speaking this evening and saying what a great experience it is, even though we are coming back to school during the pandemic. And this is evidence it can be done. It can be done.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Henry Ford. And also, I don't know that we fully thanked Adelante Selby. I thought we'd sort of do it at the very end. I sort of was with Mike. But anyway, really appreciate hearing from everybody. Thank you. Okay, and I think we have one more. Dr. Baker, is that right?
I believe there is, yes. And it's Hoover. And we have Ramiro Carranza, who is the principal. Right.
Yes, good evening. Buenas noches. Thank you for giving us a chance to come and talk to the community and to the board and the families as well, of course. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Wolf. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Dr. Baker. Thank you, trustees, for all the work that you have been doing through this, for the support and the guidance through these very challenging times for everyone. So also wanting to thank my wonderful admin team for their support and commitment to the students and the families. So thank you, Linda, Dr. Montes, for supporting us getting the subs to run the hubs. So now I think we know that the hubs are the classrooms being run by RCSD, and the pods are the classrooms being run by BGCP. So this is just a little lingo to keep in mind. Our pods have also been functioning since September 2020 without much disruption. And we are committed to continuing to looking for ways to expand those numbers and expand the number of students that we can serve. This is what we have so far, and some of the projections that we have for when we return on the 22nd, February 22nd. So we currently have one SDC class for serving 2 students. We have a confirmed primary class, a bilingual class, which is going to be opening up on March the 1st. We have 8 pods in total being run by the BGCP. And we have an additional pod, which is pending, which I'm hoping, once again, we're going to be starting on the 22nd, when we return on the 22nd. We have one hub that is currently working for 3rd through 5th grade with 15 students. And we have an additional hub that will be opening again on the 22nd. That's going to open on February 22nd. Once again, we are excited to have the kids back on campus. It is rewarding to see them coming in and just basically enjoying being on campus and learning and being connected to the teachers, going to recess. You'll be able to see that when we get to a little video that we created. We even had Halloween last year, actually, very safely done, but it was done, and it was such an amazing experience for the kids. So let's go to that. Okay, so thank you so much. I am super excited about the new gym. So we think that's going to be the new hub for the community. I can't wait to see it open. I mean, I know it's coming out pretty quickly, and I can't wait to see our kiddos going in there and playing basketball or any other sport. I mean, that's going to be an amazing thing, and it's really going to be the hub for the community. So thank you to the bond committee, thanks to the board, and thank you, Don Diaz, for making this a reality. Thanks for the tour that you gave us last time. It was really amazing, and thanks for the helmets that we had. That was really great. So this is just a few pictures of what is really going on in the classrooms with some of the kids that we have on a consistent basis. So I wanted to give a huge shout out to all the BGCP leaders who are working on campus. And also wanted to say thank you to the BGCP for their partnership. They are really an extension of Hoover within the community. We don't see it as a separate entity. We see them as working hand in hand with the communities to support the kiddos. And that is just an amazing thing to have. So thank you, BGCP, for that. So there's a little video. If you click on that Hoover, where it says Hoover, there's a little video in there. You can get a little taste of, I hope it works, of what the community is looking like.
Wendy, if there's sound on this, you need to unmute your computer so we can hear it.
Wendy, I think they said to unmute your computer, it won't work. If you unmute. There you go.
So the last part of the video, you get a glance of the 8th graders. We actually, the BGSB created a group for the 8th graders. So they go to the DeForest Club, the BGCP club, and they get to hang out with the high schoolers, which is great. So it's kind of like getting them ready for high school for next year. So that's just a little taste of what the community looks like. And I would like to extend my invitation to the trustees and obviously Dr. Baker, so you can get to see the wonderful transformation that is happening at Hoover. And then also get a chance to look at the kids and watch the kids in action. So so that's pretty much it for me. I think we have a teacher, Miss Alcaro, that wanted to say a few words. And we also have a parent who has a 3rd grade kid in one of the hubs that we're running with Miss Donis. Miss Alcaro?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha Alquero, and I'm a 2nd grade teacher at Hoover Community School. I am distance teaching and have 29 students. I think we all think, know, and believe that it takes a community to raise a community. We need advocates at every level. Tonight, I'd like to highlight the work that is being done by the Boys and Girls Club pods at Hoover Community School. I'm part of the equity committee, and one thing we are looking at is the difference between equality and equity. The tech department, Kyle can correct me if I'm wrong, but he was in one of my groups, and he said he has given Chromebooks to all the students, maybe not him personally, but the district has given Chromebooks to all the students in the district. They've also installed at least 50 hotspots along Chestnut Street, I believe. This is awesome work. This is equality. How do we address the issue that some students are still not logging on? Why are some students still not connecting? This is equity. First of all, I am new to the district, but when I was asked to talk tonight by my principal, I said yes, and I knew right away what I was going to talk about: connectivity. Enter the Boys and Girls pods at Hoover. I believe we were the first to have pods back in September or October of 2020. Now I think we have the most pods. The director, Damian White, along with the teachers in the pods, have really helped my students connect to my classroom. I have 4 students currently attending the pods, and they connect every morning at 8:30. These leaders also make sure the students know their schedule and that they come for reading groups. Just yesterday, a pod teacher helped connect one of the students to his RSP classroom. They also help with making sure the students are doing their assignments. Another day, a student needed help connecting to assignments in Clever and Seesaw. These teachers have become, I'm calling them a 5th sense, in that they help the students connect in a way I cannot always reach them. With distance learning, things may look different. Things may not go back to the original normal, but we are all learning to adapt and collaborate and work together. Can we connect? Can we do the work? Can we engage? Can we participate? Can we attend classes virtually? And the answer is yes, yes, we can. So thank you to the pod director, the pod leaders for their continued support and communication. And also thank you to the board for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Asha. Any questions, board members, comments?
I believe we have one more mom that's going to be speaking.
Sure.
I need a name.
Her name is Carolina Villaseñor. Villaseñor.
Okay.
Senor. I just want to say thank you to everybody at Hoover, from the office admin to the pods, the teachers. I mean, my son is in 3rd grade. He does have IEP. So being back in school, I have to say, wow. I see the big difference. He was falling behind at home. He wasn't doing homework. He wasn't logging into his classes. It was just really frustrating for him at home, and it made a big difference for him to be able to be back in school now. Now he's completing all of his homeworks with the help, of course, of his third grade teacher and Miss Donis at the hub. He's learned how to. He wasn't aware of how to log into his Google Meets before, but now I see him being completely independent. So I couldn't be so thankful to everybody. I don't know how to thank everyone at Hoover. My son hasn't given me any complaints at all. I mean, nothing other than the ordinary, the masks and not being able to play tag, something that cannot be changed at the present moment, but he's understanding more now. And yeah, he's had a lot of progress now with all the help at school. So I'm hoping the kids can be going back to school pretty soon. And I think that would be all for me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to give some props to the HR department also for the amazing work they're doing with the COVID testing coordination. So thank you so much. That really gives us a sense of security and safety when we come onto campus. So thank you so much.
Ramiro, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
You talked about the technology. So they put up that the city, the city along with the board of supervisors for San Mateo put several $1 million into place for connectivity in the Hoover, Fair Oaks, Taft, Garfield area. And I know Hoover has, for a lack of a better term, a mobile huge antenna to help with connectivity. Is that still not working well along with the
I think it is. I think we have been able to resolve some of the issues that we had at the beginning, and we have not been hearing as many cases from families coming in. We have been able to replace hotspots or even replace Chromebooks. What I like to do is, and that hub is actually working well. What we've been trying to do is actually try to help the families on campus. So we get the families to come in, so we help them out, replace the hubs, replace the computers if we need to, and also do some training so the kids, so the families know how to access the classrooms as well.
And then the other question for you is, in regard to your families wanting to come back, I understand that there's quite a few that don't want to come back.
There was a large number. It was about I would say 38% of the families that were saying that they wanted to stay on distance learning, and about a third, I would say about a slightly more than a third of the families were saying they'd rather stay on distance learning. About a third of the families were saying we're going to follow our teacher. And a third of the families were planning on returning. So our goal is to serve that the third of the families that wanted to return. So that's the goal. That's what we're working for. But that's what we had. We actually had that back in November, I believe, or December, right before we went on break. So the numbers, I'm sure, might have changed after the break, after Christmas break. So it will be interesting to know what the numbers will be now, right?
Well, we'll talk about that a little later. So it'll be very interesting. We talked about that a bit, at the principal's meeting today. So we'll see where we go, and hopefully we're going in the right. We will be going in the right direction with everything that is coming to the forefront as we speak with not only the science, but the vaccine and so forth. So we'll be talking about that at this meeting, and we talked about it at the principal's meeting. But we're turning a corner. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. So we just need to be ready and prepared to move forward. Great.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Baker. Thanks again. Thanks for the time.
Can I just ask a quick clarification on the first slide, the classroom that's coming back March 1st? It's like a classroom pod. Is that an in-person classroom? Is it mixed with the pod?
That's going to be an in-person classroom that's coming back. And that's a teacher. One teacher is coming back. She's a first grade bilingual teacher that is coming back. And she'll be opening up on the 1st.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Can I ask a question? The hubs that the Boys and Girls Club are offering, and I guess this would also go for Reach as well from Adelante Selby. I think they had Reach hubs. And then, of course, we have our own hubs. The hubs are operating more like 6 or 7 hours a day. Is that right with the kids? And then the classrooms are more the 2.5 to 3 hours.
That is correct.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, that is correct. Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
Because I do know in talking to some parents, in talking to some parents, that's part of their decision making, right? Is a classroom versus a hub.
Right.
Or also trying to do both. And I think we'll get to some of that probably in Dr. Baker's next part of the presentation. All right, any other comments or questions from the board? All right, well, thank you very much to the 3 schools who shared tonight. It's really good to hear from you. And we are moving in the right direction. What's that?
We have one more. We have Kennedy.
Oh, I thought we only had 3 tonight. We have 4. Okay, great, terrific. All right.
And we have Sabrina Adler, who's the principal.
There we go.
Perfect.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So before I go through our different hubs and pods, for those who are unfamiliar with Kennedy, our number of students back on campus looks a little different than the other schools because we are unique compared to the other schools in the district based on our schedule. So at Kennedy, we're much like a high school where the students mix and match every period. Their schedule is driven by their elective choice, whether they're in the immersion program, some of our specialty SPED programs, our newcomer program, etc. So the kids do mix and match. They have different classmates in every class that they have, and they could have up to 7 teachers a day. I have 44 different teachers, so a lot of different permutations. So the challenge with bringing kids back on campus in like a regular classroom model is that they move every period and they have different classmates. So it's really not possible for us at this point. And even with bringing kids onto campus when the hubs and the pods, there are still challenges because of the different classes that they have. And I'll get into that in a minute. So we have 2 hubs on campus that are being funded by the district with 2 guest teachers. We've got a newcomer hub with 15 students in there. 12 of them are Spanish speaking and 3 of them speak Arabic, and they've been in the United States less than 2 years. So very limited English. We do have a bilingual Spanish speaking teacher in there. And then we have another hub that is mostly special ed and our English language learners. So those are 2 guest teachers there. Then we have 2 different models of pods. We have Reach, which is running 2 different pods of 14 that has 2 leaders in there supervising. And then I have 4 Kennedy teachers. We've got Erica Macco, who is an RSP teacher for 6th grade, Kirsten Knudsen, who is a 6th grade social studies teacher, Patrick Kelly, who is a 6th grade science PE teacher, and then Maestro Alfredo Oropeza, who is an 8th grade immersion social studies and science teacher. So the Kennedy teachers that are on campus, they have 7 to 8 kids in their room while they are teaching online at the same time to 20 to 30 kids. So a kid in Maestro Alfredo's class, for example, might have him 2nd and 3rd period, but then they don't have him the rest of the day. So Maestro still teaches while the kids are going to other classes at the same time and potentially moving to other classrooms for band class because they can't be playing their instrument in the same room. Or if they have PE, they've got to move to a different space. So there's a lot of moving even on campus at a time. So those are our 3 models. The kids are on campus roughly from 8 to 3 Our hubs are on campus 5 days a week, and then our pods are 4 days a week. Just to paint a picture of the movement going on in the B quad, for those of you who are familiar, which is our 6th grade area generally, there's 10 classrooms there in a rectangular arrangement around a quad. And we, for 22 kids roughly in the B quad that are on campus right now, we are using 8 classrooms because of the main 3 classrooms for instruction. And then if they have band or they have drama where they have to be speaking out loud, if they have PE, they have to be moving, and we have 7 different PE teachers. So it's hard to put kids in the same room with different PE teachers because they need to not be tethered to their computer. They actually have to be moving away, jump roping, or doing whatever they're doing. So it's hard to put kids with different teachers in the same room. So a lot of challenges for us there, but the kids are happy to be on campus socializing and getting to see each other. We are dealing with the typical teenager kind of issues, like keeping cell phones in our backpacks and on our pockets and out in the bathrooms, things like that. And then the accountability. So we really are trying to make sure that they are on classes, they're doing their work. And at home, a lot of the kids have much more freedom. So they're not always a big fan of having to now be on campus to do their work and actually get it done. What I really like about the day, though, is they go to their 4 classes, which are an hour apiece, and they have a 20-minute break in between them and a 45-minute lunch. And then the last hour of the day, they get help from their pod teacher or their reach instructors, guest teachers to really help with homework or projects for their classes. Given that we have not been able to bring as many kids back on campus, and I am seeing the huge social emotional toll that it is taking on kids, I decided I had to get a little creative. And 3 weeks ago, we started to pilot Wednesday socialization, where I'm inviting kids to arrange groups of friends to come on campus and socialize on Wednesday for an hour and a half. And if they don't have any friends that are coming, I will put them with a group so that they can get to come on campus and socialize. Last week, we had our first day with lots of kids on campus on Wednesday. It was so cute to watch the 6th graders that were there. They came on campus. They had no clue what to do. So they started playing hide and go seek around the big blacktop area, finally settled down, and they each had a basketball and played and ate lunch. They were so happy. It was really nice to see the joy and the laughing and the smiles that we know were under the masks. And then the 7th and 8th graders settled in as well. At first, they too didn't know what to do. And I said, well, what do you normally do at lunch? You socialize, you sit and talk. So they sat and talked, or they kind of roamed around and talked, and it was really great. So we're in our 3rd week this week. They came today, and we're expanding. So as more groups want to come on, we are signing them up and then just balancing being able to supervise. We're hoping to add an afternoon time as well, but we are short right now a campus supervisor and a yard duty. So this week, admin have been playing campus supervisor and yard duty in the B quad and helping with the Wednesday socialization. On top of that, we added this week, just started yesterday, 8th grade basketball club run by John Haynes, who's one of our teachers. He's also our athletic director for our sports programs on campus. So he is wanting to get kids out and moving and practicing basketball. A lot of them want to try out for basketball next year at the high schools. And he feels like they're at a disadvantage because a lot of them can't pay to be on a club team and be practicing all this time. So he is running basketball right now. And so I'm excited to see that tomorrow. I was not on campus yesterday, but I heard it went well. And we will expand that and add some coaches and teachers if need be. You can flip. Perfect. So here are some pictures of our hubs. At the top, again, kids are spread out and working. They're on their computers because of the schedule. As I explained, they have to kind of stick with the distance learning. We have in the bottom left corner, we have a student. You can see his EV3 Lego robot that he is still working on. I am very proud that our elective programs are still going really strong. We have over 200 kids in our music program, either in band, orchestra, or choir. And they are still learning to play music and progress. We've got our STEM electives right now. We have over $30,000 worth of materials out to kids for our STEM electives, like the EV3 robots, because we don't want to cheat the kids of the experience of what they would have gotten in class. So we are sending home a lot of material still and doing those same kind of projects. And then in the bottom, we've got 3 of the boys that were out playing basketball, 6th graders last week at our little socialization. And then some of our 7th grade girls in the hub on the right. And if he's here, Maestro Alfredo was going to just tell you a little bit about how it's going for him and what it's like.
He's here.
Okay, he should be able to talk now.
Yeah, there he is.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches a todos. So yeah, thank you all for having me. I'll speak very briefly, as a lot of the points that I was going to mention have already been mentioned by the other teachers. But yeah, I mean, overall, my experience with my pod has been really positive. And I say that because I really feel that the students are being more successful than they were being at home. Like Sabrina explained a bit, my pod is a combination of 6th through 8th grade students. I have 2 sets of siblings, and then I have 2 other students, 8th graders. And so it's a very unique community. And apart from them being more successful with logging into their classes, with completing assignments, I really, over the last couple of weeks, have appreciated the community building piece, the interaction that they've had with each other. It's unfortunate that this is the big piece that the students are missing out of. And really, I mean, it wasn't as, I think it was Maestra Susie, or if it was Maestra Abby, who said that 1st graders from day 1, they were ready. Middle school, we know, is a little bit different. They were a little bit hesitant the first couple of days. But when I noticed that the community was really getting strong was a few days ago, when one of the 8th graders hadn't arrived yet. It was getting close to the start of the day. And one of the 6th graders asked, "Hey, do you all think Alejandro's gonna make it today?" And I just thought it was the cutest thing. I really feel that they're creating, this community within our pod, 6 to 7 students, and it's a really good experience. So yeah, I mean, again, overall positive, students being more successful, and whether that means that they have a stronger Wi-Fi connection, or whether that means that they have a quieter environment, or just me reminding them constantly, hey, 2 minutes, time for 3rd period. Let's get going. Again, it's been really positive. As far as my experience, my personal experience, I don't think it's taken away from anything that I'm doing with my classes through distance learning. If anything, it's helped me get back into my routine, which I really, really appreciate. Because yes, we know that this is challenging for the students and the families, but the teachers also, this is a big change for us. And so I think me being able to get back into this normal routine, in air quotes normal, is going to help me as I transition into next school year. And so again, I don't want to keep going on. Overall, really positive experience. I'm really grateful that I have this opportunity, and I know that the students are really grateful to be at school. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfred. And I just, again, want to give a shout out to the 4 teachers, because while he says it's not a lot extra, I will acknowledge that they are entitled to their breaks and their duty-free lunch, but most of them are giving up a lot of their breaks that the teachers at home are getting to just build community with the students and hang out with them. So I really appreciate that and want to recognize that.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Alfredo. That's great. Board, any questions? Comments from the board?
I just want to say thank you again, and to give a shout out to our partners, the Boys and Girls Club and REACH, and the teachers again for going the extra mile. I think it's really important. And as Sabrina said, we need to recognize that they're going above and beyond. So thank you, everybody.
Lisa, we had one more parent that we forgot about that was at Adelante Selby, who wanted to say a few words. Is that
wonderful?
Awesome?
Yeah, let's
And
bring the parent on.
It's Nathalie. Oh gosh.
Fasoli.
Nathalie.
She's. I think she's already there. I see her.
Oh, she is.
Go ahead,
I'm
Natalie.
sorry. There we go.
You have to unmute.
Ms. Fasoli, you have to unmute.
Yeah, I've hit ask to unmute twice.
So she has to do it, correct, Kyle?
That's correct.
If she's on the phone, is it something like #6 or something? Do you know? I forget.
She would, if she was on a phone, she'd show up as a phone number, not as a person.
Oh, okay. So she's on a computer.
Ms. Fasoli, if you can hear us, if you can unmute. Well, I think we should move on. I'm sorry, but I appreciate that she wanted to say something. Maybe we can bring her back at another time to address the board and giving her comments about her child is a first grader, I believe, attending one of the hubs at Selby, Adelante Selby. All right.
So, Dr. Baker, before you, are you going to jump into the presentation now?
Overall?
Yeah,
that's just something else to say.
That's great. Well, just in case some of the teachers or the principals hop off, my guess is they'll stay on, but just in case, thank you on behalf of the board and all of us for all that you're doing. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate hearing from each of the school sites and giving the examples of what's going well and what some of the challenges are. I mean, I think this is the real life that we're all working under, and we're all learning from each other. And with every day, we're learning new things, and we're getting more kids back on campus, which is wonderful. So anyway, thank you so much for sharing all the information tonight. Okay, Dr. Baker, I know you've got more information to share. And we do have a couple of speaker cards, but I'm going to let Dr. Baker and team speak first, because some of those questions might get answered that the commenters have.
All right. Let's see. So let's start with the next slide. So what we're going to do this evening is give a little of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going to go. So between myself and Wendy, we're going to start this presentation and then entertain questions and comments. And then I know, Elisa, I believe there is a CSBA call tomorrow with Superintendent McGee and maybe some other health officials, where I think some board members may be attending that phone call, or you may learn even things may have changed in a different direction from what I'm going to give you tonight.
Every day there's new information.
Okay, I'm going to move forward then with our slides. So thank you to all of the great presentations tonight. It was wonderful to see the kids on campus. And as Dr. Baker mentioned, we were talking about the present, which is now. I'm going to take us a little bit back to the beginning in a very brief summary. This slide presents to you just where we've been during the beginning stages. We all lived it, we all know it, but there were some key things that the district put in place so that we were ready to launch forward. And I know you've heard at multiple board meetings the various things that we've done, such as the PPE. You heard about plexiglass tonight, our facilities crew doing an amazing job, and all of the hard work from all of the staff and teachers really coming together in our district. I'm very proud of that, to react to a crisis, pivot in different directions, and move ahead. So this slide particularly talks about the beginning pieces, but really things started to move fairly quickly after November 1st. And so I'm going to move to the next slide and talk about really what launched us forward to the place that we're at now. And then Dr. Baker will be taking it from there. So in October, well, I'll even back up a little bit. Right when we moved into our pandemic phase and closed schools, we reacted very quickly and met with both unions, RCTA that represents teachers and CSEA that represents our classified staff. And we sat down and worked through how to work in a pandemic and ensure that people were still on payroll, that people were being cared for, that we're getting the right PPE and so forth. And this was all new to everybody. So we did some great work, and that was in March through May. And then as the board made decisions along the year, we worked again with our unions to bring new information, sign new MOUs and so forth. So with CSEA, our classified staff, we're still working on various details. Our classified staff has been such champions. Most classifications are working on site and have been since March. Our custodial staff, our food service, our office staff has been really back since July. Our instructional assistants are returning as well. And of course, all of our maintenance and facilities crews, our tech team has been there from the beginning, helping with devices. So much of our classified staff has been on site already during this entire process and has done an amazing job. So with RCTA, we knew that we wanted to get kids back as soon as we could. And we started with a pilot MOU, and that was signed early November with RCTA, and it allowed the district to open up about 20 in-person classrooms with teachers that were willing to come back. We also signed an MOU with RCTA for our hub teachers, because these were additional teachers that were being added to work with students. That is atypical than a regular school year. Then we moved quickly forward in November, and after opening up the 20 classrooms and experiencing that for a few weeks, we met back with our CTA and really realized that we could come up with a process that would be a reasonable MOU given the circumstances. And I have to say, it was a difficult time because that was right when we were pivoting into the increasing cases after Thanksgiving and into December. And so our teachers worked very hard with us to create a quite lengthy MOU that described distance learning and our in-person classrooms. And so that's what really launched forward many of the classroom, the RCTA classrooms that you heard about tonight and in our last board meeting and will at our next board meeting. We have over really 100 RCTA members working one way or another throughout our district, which is quite remarkable. It's about 25 to 30% at this point. And really the goal was to prioritize students being on campus. I want to say thank you so much to our principals who worked with our families back and forth during that difficult time in acknowledging and working within the MOU and prioritizing students returning back in person, really to meet two goals. Of course, the academic pieces, but really the social emotional part that was missing and the connectivity, as you heard tonight. So the hubs were also brought back, and Linda Montes really jumped in. You heard her name tonight. She jumped in to interview very quickly and get some great quality people into our classrooms who have a proper credential through the California Teaching Credential program and are able to work with students in person, whether it's small group, pulling them, helping them with various tasks that they have to do. So it's a really great opportunity for our kids. And then of course we started curative testing, which you've heard all about for employees and students. In November, it was with employees every 2 weeks. And we were ahead of the game because the recommendation was every month at that point. Then as we continued forth into December, right before winter break, we saw about, there were increase of cases. We moved into purple. And so that, I think, made it very difficult for families and even our teachers to decide what the next step would be. So at this point, Dr. Baker was very motivated in ensuring that we put all of our data on our website. So between November and December, the RCSD data dashboard was created. Jorge Quintana, Antonio Perez, and Aaron Keikos did an amazing job so that we can communicate what's happening in our classrooms, whether that's pod, hub, or classroom teachers, to communicate cases, positive cases on campus, and the reaction of the district in closing. I'm very proud of the team that's working on the communication through the contact tracking and tracing, because they really are reaching out with phone calls and then the appropriate notifications to sites. And while it can be difficult to hear, I think we've established a really great system and routine to make sure that people are getting the communication that they need, and they're quarantining. We also in HR created a system in which those that cannot work remotely can begin with trainings if they have to be quarantined, online trainings. So they'll check out a device, for example, a custodian that may be quarantined can check out a device and then complete needed trainings that we would normally want to accomplish throughout the year online while that person is quarantining. So some good systems were really put in place. Then as we prepared for January 19th return, I have to say the facilities team was ahead of the game, help with Don Diaz, Josh Griffith, Martin Cervantes, and Thomas did a fantastic job with making sure that the sites were really ready to go. And with everything that you've seen so far and the signage and the zones outside, the cleaning schedule, hiring our additional day custodians and campus supervisors. Thank you so much to the board for approving that. So at that point in late January, we have about 2,300 students on campus, and started, of course, the student testing every 2 weeks. And as we're into February now, more teachers are expressing interest in returning in person. I think we're seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Dr. Baker is going to talk about vaccinations, but really we have proven that our PPE is in place and our systems are in place. So I feel very proud about that. We also have had no workplace transmissions, which is very telling. And we're proud about that. Around the state and around the country, we're hearing about schools being a relatively safe place to be, considering all of the attention that is being given to safety. So just recently, we entered into an agreement with the John Gardner Center at Stanford, and we are going to be seeking information from RCTA, our teachers, regarding returning in person this spring and fall, especially with the vaccination around the corner. And just recently, we're having continued discussions with the principals about returning in person, because it is really critical that they're working with our communities, with the teachers, and stressing the need, as you heard tonight, of the benefits of returning in person. So with that, I am going to turn the next section over to Dr. Baker.
Okay, great. Thank you, Wendy. So as you can see on this slide here, where we've been in phase 1 with the distance learning, the implementation of all the PPE and the safety protocols, that's all in place. We started out with the pilot classrooms at several of our school sites in November through December. And of course, our hubs, which you heard Wendy discuss the work that has taken place of hiring these teachers to be guest teachers with the Redwood City School District, to not only make sure that students are connecting, but that they're also meeting some of the social emotional needs of students and providing them with instructional support. And then we did begin COVID-19 testing for all employees, and then we also started with students. You see coming back for phase 2 in January, it was reopening additional Redwood City classrooms, hubs, and pods. Now, what I would like to discuss with you right now, board members, is, and if you have questions, please go ahead and let me know. I'm going to try and pull my screen down so I can see your faces. We want to encourage more teachers to return in person. We know that the vaccine is right around the corner. We know as of yesterday, when I was at a superintendent's meeting, if you're looking at the adjusted rates of people testing positive for the virus, it has gone down since the previous week. So it's now at 15.4. Previous week, it was 17.9. The positivity rate is down now at 3.8% of the population, where it was 4.4 last week. And the health equity rate is at 6.5% this week, where it was at 7.9% last week. So that movement is going in a downward fashion. We are all aware that it's the best place for students to be is to be back in person. We know that through all the mitigating protocols that we have put in place with PPE, the testing that we do every other week for our employees and also for those students whose parents allow us to do so, that even when there is a positive case that comes about in the classroom or an adult that's working on the school site, has been no transmission whatsoever. And that is a given proof through the diligence that our maintenance department has put together in making sure that the PPE, the protocols are in place that need to be in place at each school site where we have in-person learning taking place. We do know vaccinations are around the corner. I know there's been some discussion as to why Redwood City didn't just go out and do their own. I want to remind the community and remind the board in the last there was a newsletter that went out, I believe in January, where I explained what the 23 districts in this county were going to do to make sure that the vaccine, when it was available, we were going to do it in a county setting when it comes to school districts. Not each school district was going to go out and do their own thing. All 23 superintendents, plus the county superintendent and Dr. Morrow from the county health department, agreed with this plan that we as superintendents put together for San Mateo County. When we spoke about this, there was some criteria. Because of the 24 counties, we vary differently in the communities that we serve. So in developing the list and priority of when the vaccines are ready in San Mateo County for the tier, which is now including 65-year-olds, which we are pushing forward to make a case. As we saw, we all received a letter from Senator, and I can read his name.
Josh Becker.
Yeah, Josh Becker.
I was going to say Jerry Hill, who just retired, but Josh Becker in that letter, how he is supporting that teachers are put up there as the priority along with the 65-year-olds, if not above them, to get the vaccine, as it will assist school districts in reopening faster for in-person learning. With that being said, prior to his letter, the superintendents within the county created a plan which we shared with the county superintendent. The county superintendent shared it with the county health department, Dr. Morrow, and everybody is in agreement in going in this direction. Our county superintendent, Nancy McGee, has been doing the conversations and the planning with Kaiser and Sutter Medical here within San Mateo County. So as soon as the vaccines start to be released, which we were told within probably the next couple of weeks, that as they're released, there are X amount going to be for teachers in San Mateo County who teach in San Mateo County. How this priority list according to districts and where they are on a list to start getting the vaccines. It was an agreement that we would start with those districts who has the most unduplicated students in the district. So right now, the district that has the most unduplicated students is Ravenswood. So Ravenswood, when the vaccines come out, they would say, okay, Ravenswood, there are X amount of vaccines for your first group. The first group would be all your teachers who are SDC teachers and instructional assistants. They would go first for those days of vaccines. If they don't have any SDC teachers in person or any instructional assistants in person in SDC classes, it goes down to the next district. And we are district number 6 out of the 24. It starts, as I said, there are 24 districts. We each have a number in line. And as soon as one district is called for their group, it goes right down to the next group. Remember, not every school district has every classroom in person being taught. For example, the next district that would come after us, after Ravenswood, would be the County Office of Ed. And the County Office of Ed does have special day classes. It does have the, it used to be called the juvenile system, but it's no longer called that. They have those classes there, and plus they have some preschool classes. Then it goes to Bayshore Elementary School District, and then Jefferson School District, La Honda Pescadero, and then Redwood City. Within the time frames that you're given, each of us superintendents sent out a survey to our teachers about the vaccine. This was done weeks ago when we came back. Out of the teachers in San Mateo County public schools districts, there were a total of 6,700 responses. Out of that 6,700, we have 5,700 that will take the vaccine. I don't know, they're throughout the county, so there are probably some in our district, some in other districts. So that's what that information came back to us with. What we are responsible to do by Friday is to take our list of teachers who are working in person with us right now and put them on the list according to these groups. The first group to go would be those SDC teachers and instructional assistants. The second group to go would be any teacher who is teaching in person, any instructional assistant, any cafeteria staff that's working in person, our maintenance people that are on a daily basis working at the school sites, our learning pod staffs, our district daycare providers that are at staff, any of our itinerant people, our psychologists, our OTs, our speech therapists that are working at school sites, office staff, site administrators, those would be in that next group that would go. The next group after that would be the district office staff that are working at the district office. And then the very last group is all teachers who are working remotely. All teachers who are working remotely. So all our teachers will be put on the list in these orders. From what I learned yesterday, and with the ramping up of the vaccines, this could be starting within the next 10 days to 2 weeks. We know we have next week off as a break. I call it the President's Week. and then we come back on the 22nd. But we were told to have our list ready because it could happen at any time, with knowing that we have support from not only our senator, but also from all public entities, officials within San Mateo County that want our teachers to be on that list along with the 65-year-olds or above it. Alameda County started this week with their educators, with any educator that lives in Alameda County. That was a county decision. So if we have teachers that live in Alameda County, they can actually go get the vaccine now. So with this being said, we would have, hopefully with my fingers crossed, because it is two vaccines that one needs to take at this point in time. If this were to start, say it started the week of the 22nd, you give it 4 weeks before you go back for the next one. And then after that, I believe it's 2 weeks you have to wait before it's, definitely a valid vaccine. We could see ourselves coming back into in-person learning the end of March or the first part of April, right after winter, after spring break. But let me say, all the information coming from the medical field does indicate you do not need to be vaccinated to have in-person learning. You have your mitigated protocols in place, which we do, and we have proven that it works. Yes, we have closed classrooms because a student has tested positive, an adult has tested positive, but there has been no transmission in any of those cases. We are putting together a survey, as Wendy indicated, that we sent to the John Gardner Center this morning. The survey is to ask teachers, there's several questions. One is about the vaccination. You get the vaccination, are you coming back? Are you coming back without the vaccination? But then there are a couple other questions which are very crucial, because we are definitely, no matter what, going to start school in August in person. That's a definite. It's going to happen. The other piece that we want to do is we want to start a summer program. So we're also asking information about the summer program. So we're hopefully going to get the survey back from Stanford. I'm hoping no later than Friday, so that we can get this out prior to the next break that's coming. And then we can get the information back from our teachers. We also spoke to our principals today in regard to them starting to talk to their teachers to see if they are in the mindset of returning. We have a couple school sites that there is very little in-person learning happening at this point in time, and those sites need to start opening up. What we have decided in our conversation with small cabinet and also with principals is those schools who do not have many classes open in person, we will start seeing who we can find to start opening up some classes at those school sites. I know Wendy's doing a really great job of putting positions on EdJoin to find these guest teachers. Linda's done a fantastic job of training these guest teachers. So we are going to make sure that there are some in-person classes available for school sites that have not had the opportunity to get teachers to come back in some fashion. We've got to move forward. I know that when I talked about the vaccine and how the county is going to move in the direction of giving the vaccine to the districts in this fashion for educators. I see on that there's some, it seems like it's confusing. It does seem like it will be confusing, but if it's done correctly and we all, and that means every district, every superintendent follows the guidelines, it's going to work. The only sad thing about this is that the governor could come in at any time and blow this all up and just saying he's doing something different with vaccines. That's the only thing that would be a negative linchpin in this whole plan that has been put in place. Are there any questions in regard to especially the piece about wanting to reopen sooner in the spring or about the vaccine before I go on to summer school and the other piece?
I have a couple of questions about your priority list. And I think you answered it with the John Gardner survey. I know the one survey went out and there were teachers who indicated that they would not be getting the vaccine. If those teachers happen to have changed their mind, does the John Gardner survey, will that pick them up, or how do they get put on the list to get a vaccine? And then my other question is about teachers who are currently distance learning, but willing to come back if they get the vaccine. Where do they fall on the priority list?
Good question. So let's go with the first one. Those teachers who completed the survey and said they didn't want the vaccine. I don't know who said they didn't want the vaccine. That's one thing. So their name's going to go on this list. I don't have that information.
And sorry, I'm only saying that based on when we spoke the other day, you gave me a percentage. There were like 20% of the San Mateo County teachers said they didn't want it. So I don't even know if those are in our district.
Correct. So what I'm doing is putting every employee that's in our district on this list.
Got it. So every name is going on there.
When they're contacted to go, then they're going to have to say, well, I don't want it. And then right down to the next person.
Okay, good.
Your other question, Janet, in regard to those people that, and if I understood this correctly, that are not in person now, but would like to be in that grouping where it's that second group that goes, but they wouldn't be going because they're not doing in person. What if they changed their mind? Is that what you're asking?
That's correct. Yeah, if they're currently classified as distant learning teachers, but they would come back if they had the vaccine.
They would need to let either Wendy or myself know that they're coming back, and I will put them at that group number 2, priority group 2.
Okay. Was that in the original survey that went out?
None of that was in the survey that went out from the county regarding the vaccine. The county is the one that did that survey. We didn't do that survey.
Okay.
So just to clarify, in the prioritization system that you've put together with the other superintendents in the county, you're going to go through, does each school district go through their tier 1 and then it circles back and each school district goes through their tier 2?
Correct.
Or
correct.
Okay. That's where this would be important, because I think what we've heard from some of our teachers is that as soon as they're vaccinated, they're willing to come back in person. And so we want to get them prioritized because we are a school district that has higher needs kids with our higher unduplicated count. So I don't know how, I guess it didn't really factor into the overall plan, but it is an interesting point. So at this point, those teachers who are in distant learning, they're going to be falling into a lower tier, so they're going to have to wait. But I mean, ideally, all this is going to be happening over a couple weeks. So it's maybe 1 day versus 5 or 10 days. I don't know. I don't have a sense of that. Do you?
It depends on the number of vaccines that we get. Depends on the number of vaccines that are given to the county. And from what I understand, as of yesterday, they're given every week. And then I heard something on the news that I was listening to last night. No, they come several times a week. So maybe Elisa, when you're on your call tomorrow, you can find out, is it they're given like once a week to the county? And then the county doesn't really do the distributing, from my understanding. They're given to like Kaiser, given to like Sutter Health. And then I believe there are a few vaccines that are given to the county. And my understanding is those vaccines will go for the private schools, I think. You know, the small number of private schools that are in session.
So a couple people have asked about what is an unduplicated count or an unduplicated student. And that really is a horrible term. We're sorry that we use it, but it's sort of a term that was developed in the state with the local control funding formula. So it's really homeless, foster youth, free and reduced lunch, English learners. Yeah. And so it's that group of students. And the reason they say unduplicated is that some students could fall into multiple categories, but you're just counting the student once. Did I get all the categories? I think so.
Got them.
Yeah. And so our school district, relative to other school districts in our county, we do have high numbers, which means that we are often targeted with more resources for those specific kids. And so in this case, there's a prioritization that the superintendents came up with, right? Is that correct?
Correct. And we all agreed. And as we went through this yesterday, and there was a little bit of a dissension for a little bit, we all agreed we've got to stick to this grouping, not unless, you know, as Superintendent McGee said from the county Office of Ed, just remember, if the governor pulls a plug and does something entirely different, it could blow this all out of the water. So we get it. But if he doesn't, we need to go by this.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, I do want to thank, I know some people in the audience have been writing letters advocating and calling, advocating for vaccines. And I know your board members have, the California School Boards Association has, the San Mateo County School Boards Association, AXA, the teachers. So there's been a lot of advocacy around there, and I do feel like we're starting to get some movement. So we'll see. All right. So any other? I do have a couple of speaker cards that I think were on this topic, which we could take. Or if board members have any other questions or comments before we do that, that's fine too.
Maybe I'll just ask my question and then we can get to the speaker cards. I actually had two. One was around the guest teachers. I was confused. I thought that those were being hired for pods. Are they for in-person instruction at the schools that aren't? And then the other one was just, are we doing outreach to the staff that are in counties where they could get vaccines? Is that part of like the teacher newsletter or the staff newsletter?
I'll have Liz put that in there in the teacher newsletter this week. In regard to the guest teacher is a teacher who is able to work with children by themselves. So they do have the requirements that are set forth by the state of California. We are using them in our hubs, and that's why I asked Dr. Montes to please train them, because she, with her knowledge and her expertise in that field, trains them just like if they were a teacher going into a classroom. Some of them are working with just a certain grade level. As Linda has told me, some have several grade levels, but we try to keep it within 2 grade levels. And we didn't want our kindergartners to be with others if we could manage that. And Linda, I don't know if you'd like to say any more.
Yeah, and the topics of which they have training on depend on their area of need. So each week we meet, and a couple of times they've been on social emotional learning. One was what to do during rainy days kind of things. And the other things are a lot on safety. And then of course the technology components. And it's a very positive, strong group, learning a lot, and they're enjoying the work. It's very helpful.
Very helpful. And what's really great about this, Mike, is that some of these people, would like to become our teachers full time, would like to come in that direction.
Yes.
Great.
And yeah, and today I mentioned the idea of summer school. If you were very interested in summer school, so if we need summer school teachers, they'd be willing. It's great.
Great. That's fantastic.
So it's extending the program that's already in place that we're doing with the guest teachers, but bringing it to sites where maybe there's not as much of many opportunities there. That's what, okay.
Correct. I don't know if we did. Do we, if we want to go in any of these? I'm trying to see if I find any questions on here.
Dr. Baker, would you like me to end the presentation here? Stop sharing.
Hold on 1 second. The other piece, I'm just trying to look through the chat to see if there's anything I should get. The other piece is the summer school and virtual options. So summer school in person is we. Yes, Lisa, did you want to?
Well, I do have a couple of speaker cards on COVID. I mean, I guess we can wait and take them after you finish. I don't know how much more you have if this is moving into.
Do you want to take them now? You can go ahead and take them now if you want.
Sure, why? Because you're moving into summer school in next year now.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and take the speaker cards. Kyle, are you ready? It looks like we've got. I think it was Marisol Mendoza. And then following that will be Mike Hoffer. I think those are the two that we haven't gotten to yet.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Marisol. Welcome.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marisol Mendoza, and I'm an instructional assistant at Henry Ford. I recently found out that teachers in our district are receiving additional funds for working back on school sites. Our union has asked for some extra funds for classified members who have been working on sites as well. And I am disappointed to hear that the request was recently rejected by the district. I believe classified staff should be compensated appropriately for not only providing additional work, but also putting themselves at risk on a daily basis. I get an email almost every week from the HR department notifying me that a member of our school community has tested positive for COVID-19. Unlike teachers who have their health plan paid fully by the district, many of the classified staff don't have access to adequate health care services because most of us work part-time and cannot afford the insurance provided by the district for us and for our families. We are told teachers are getting paid more because their work has increased. Many of the classifieds' work has increased as well. Office staff are helping out with all the testing procedures and temperature checks. Bus drivers are delivering foods to family, and instructional assistants have been very adaptable when it comes to learning how to use many of the online programs our students used. I hope that as a group and individually, you will be willing and do take the time to review the facts, the reality of our situation, and realize that the decision to refuse appropriate compensation across the board for those of us who are putting ourselves at risk is inconsistent with the values and standards we all stand for. We only ask for what is fair. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. And Wendy, I know this has come up and you've been working through, who do you work through to respond to this? Because I know we've gotten this question.
I can respond to Marisol by email.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Marisol, and Wendy will respond to you via email.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you very much. The next speaker is Mike. I'm not sharing the timer in part because the other screen is up and in part because it's fine. I'm keeping track and I'll let you know if you run out of time. Anyway, we have Mike Hoffer and then Marie Stockton. Go ahead, Mike. Oh, we need to get him on, sorry. Yeah. Michael Hoffer.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead and, yeah, there you go. Welcome.
My name is Michael Hofer. Thank you very much for taking my question. I have two sons at Roy Cloud, and I was just listening to the approach that Dr. Baker was highlighting to get us back into in-person learning. And Dr. Baker highlighted a couple of dependencies in this plan around the availability of vaccinations, the eventual prioritization of teachers, which we all hope to be the case, on the list, the potential for the governor of the state to make some changes to the overall plan. So I'm just asking what the path forward would be if this current plan, the hopes of this current plan do not materialize the way that we are all hoping. And when parents will know whether or not their children will be back in school, either in the April date that Dr. Baker mentioned or eventually in August.
Thank you. Dr. Baker, do you want to clarify?
I'm going to try.
Sort of
So,
the latest thinking. Thank you.
I'm also reading, the chat from one of our teachers, and it says, she understands that this plan for 23 school districts, she understands the plan, but what if San Mateo County does what Alameda and San Francisco did and are doing, and say all residents that are educators? That could occur. It could be all of a sudden that for whatever reason, the county of San Mateo says, all right, it's all educators, let's just go do it. These are the times it's going to happen. So this plan that I just read about the vaccine would no longer be in play. We would go in this other direction. The same way if the governor were to say, fine, all teachers go get your vaccination. Then this is just a moot point, and we go in that direction. But I don't know that yet, but we had to do something with our county to move in a direction that would at least give the 23 school districts priority in getting this vaccine in some fashion. Because right now, we thought that we would have been, I guess it's 1B right now. I think it's 1B. And with 1B, it was educators, but then they came in and put 65 years older and above in 1B. So those are questions. We'll just have to deal with them as they come. But this is the plan if that does not occur, which we will adhere to, not unless something different happens. So that question.
Dr. Baker, I'm sorry, but you just reiterated the loophole or the concerns and the dependencies in the plan that you highlighted. How do you address parents that are asking what your plan B is if that plan doesn't materialize, and when we'll be able to know whether or not our children will be returning to school either in April or in August?
So what we are doing at this point in time, and Wendy Kelly alluded to it in her presentation, we are definitely doing that one survey with all our teachers, which Stanford is helping us do. With the responses from that survey, we will know where our teachers stand on coming back. The other piece that I mentioned is I'm working with the principals at some of the school sites that have very little in-person instruction taking place to work with the teachers along with ourselves here at the district level to see who we can get to come back at least a grade level one teacher per grade level at the site. It's really important, but it's also going to be important that parents understand if for whatever reason and how this materializes and teachers for whatever reason do not come back, that you're able to support whatever we put into place by returning in the spring, sometime in April, whether it be one of your own teachers or whether it be somebody that we hire as a guest teacher to come in.
So if that plan is in April, should we expect some message from you in the month of March to be able to indicate?
We're going to get a message out as soon as I can better understand where people are, and I'm speaking people, I'm speaking of our teachers, where they are at this point in time, since they have seen that some of our classrooms that are in person are working quite well, even without the vaccination. Vaccination coming into play, once they get the vaccination, people should be ready to come back to work. If you're not ready to come back to work, then that's a personnel piece that needs to be handled. But I need to get students back, especially at those school sites where there is very little in-person instruction.
So that's promising to hear. I appreciate that. My kids happen to be at Roy Cloud, where I think there are very few classes in session for general ed. I think there may be 3 or 4. So we are in that group, and we're grateful to hear that. And it sounds like the district has a plan to address the dearth of teachers so that we are all back to school come April or August, one way or the other.
August, definitely. I want everybody back. There is a plan, definitely August. Everybody's coming back. I mean, if they're not coming back, and I know this sounds very harsh, if you don't plan to come back in August, then you need to, I'm sorry. There is within the teacher's contract, you can take a leave of absence if you so desire, or you can leave the district. But I need to have in person coming back in August. Vaccine, we were guaranteed yesterday at the latest by the end of April, first part, everybody in this county, everyone should be vaccinated. Now, if something happened that I don't know about, then of course that's a wrench for me, but everybody's coming back in August. And
All right, well, thank you very much. So we're probably getting in a little too much back and forth with, I should be doing more public comments. So sorry about that, but thank you for your questions and thanks for answering. As we can see, there's a lot going on here. So thank you, Michael. All right, we have our next speaker is Maria Stockton.
Am I on?
You're
Can
on.
you hear
Welcome,
me?
Maria.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. Nice to hear from those administrators and teachers and parents who are talking about kids at their site. I'd like to address the issue of the extra compensation given to the teachers. With the extra compensation for the teachers, why is this not a real consideration for classified employees? A board member was asked this question, and their answer was, why should the classified get anything? Their workload hasn't changed. I would like to challenge the board members to visit at least 2 school sites, visit the DO tech department, the kitchens preparing the food, and listen about the challenges, the increased workload, that it is not being acknowledged by or nor compensated by the school district. Instructional assistants took training and learned the same programs the teachers did to work for distance learning. They support the teacher and students together and work together with the teacher as well as alone, working both on site and away, working on those little problems that was mentioned earlier, even with technology. Bus drivers, besides driving our children, have been delivering food, books, equipment, assisting the tech department with unloading equipment, etc. The tech department has been keeping the district, all teachers, all students, families, staff, all schools up and running to maintain the ability for this district to have education to be continued both away and on campuses. They've been diagnosing problems, repairing equipment, continuing to trade in old and distributing new equipment. They have been, our food service has not only been preparing, serving, and distributing meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack for 7 days a week for all Redwood City children, not just children enrolled in our school district. They have also been assisting in the food banks at school sites. Office staff, beside our workloads, also have to be taking temperatures, doing the wellness checks of the COVID testing of students, more computer work of keeping track and following these. Staff members recording and processing of taking tests, maintaining new attendance recordings and reports, dealing directly with parents and other adults, with materials for teachers and students. We are all exhausted. Let's see, just a second, I'm sorry. We are asking that.
Maria, you have 20 seconds left.
All right, thank you. How about the school board give allowance to the classified to present at a board meeting how their jobs have changed, how their workloads have increased, and how their attitude and mental health has been affected by this. Again, we challenge the board members to please come visit these people and see really what's happening and how that unfair.
Maria, I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I know that this conversation is going on through collective bargaining negotiations. So typically we don't talk about it in a board meeting. I mean, I certainly appreciate you addressing us, and I think we heard it, but I do know these conversations are going on in negotiations. So thank you very much, Maria, for being here. Okay. All right. I think, let me just double check. I think those were all the speaker cards on this topic. And then I know you still have more to talk about on summer school.
So the summer school is really important for us, but to have an in-person one and possibly a virtual option also. The trick about this is we're waiting to hear from the federal government the amount of money that we'll be receiving for this type of service. And it's definitely for our students that there may be a learning gap, but it's this time we also want to do something that is an enrichment that we could have also for. So for those students who need the academic piece, yeah, we'll have the academic piece in the morning, and then working with Wendy and Liz to do an enrichment piece in the afternoon. But it's all dependent on the federal dollars that we'll be receiving through the stimulus dollars from President Biden. He has a hefty amount in there for education, and we would be getting some of those dollars. And I know Priscilla's watching it very carefully to see when it's coming. And if so, we would want to have a robust summer school for those students who their parents believe, number one, it's a good way to get them back and acclimated to coming to school every day. Number two, we will probably have to have some virtual options, because I'm sure some parents will not feel comfortable still sending their children to school. Number three is, of course, we still need to follow all our protocols of the wearing of masks. We will still need to probably do social distancing, although the CDC is supposed to be coming out with new guidelines regarding social distancing that will not be 6 feet apart, but somewhere between hopefully 3 and 4. So with all that being said, I'm very hopeful that we can put a summer school in place. And I think Liz and Wendy, what were the dates that we're shooting for? I don't have them in front of me.
This is the ESY program, so it's like June 19th, I believe, through July
16th, I thought.
Yeah.
June 21st to July 15th, with some training days beforehand for staff.
And then you see the last phase is that August school reopening in person and possibly a district-wide virtual option. Again, we do have, I think, some concerned parents that probably will still not want to send their children back to school. For those parents, we could have a district-wide virtual option. But for the remaining students, we would want to have the in-person option for them to attend. Knowing that we still would need to adhere to those protocols of wearing a mask, there would still need to be social distancing. There would still need to be I'm not sure if they're still going to make us have these zones for kids where they need to play in groupings. And I'm not sure if if it's still going to be the same mode where you have to have identified bathrooms for identified classrooms. So all of that is still to come, but my plan is we are ramping up definitely to start school in August in person.
So I know there was a couple of maybe questions or comments just to clarify. So someone mentioned that the virtual distant academy is the same as independent study, but actually they are different.
They are They're,
right? Because independent study, oh, well, why don't you go ahead, just so the parents understand.
With independent study, you will not have the opportunity, and I know Wendy works on this on a regular basis with the parents. You don't have the regular opportunity to meet with a teacher on a regular basis. You're given work, the teacher grades the work, the teacher asks if there's questions, what are their issues. But with the virtual option, you can meet with the teacher on a regular basis every day, depending on how it's set up, where you don't get that with the independent study. And we did put our independent study criteria in our board policy, which is different than it was previously, where we said when we're in this type of situation of the pandemic, you do have that opportunity to do it for 1 full year. Whereas before, remember, it was only X amount of weeks per school year. But I'm assuming that since we will not be totally in the clear come August when we start, and by in the clear, what I mean, that you come back to school just like before, without the social distancing, without the masks and all of that. I'm sure we're gonna have some parents that are still gonna feel uncomfortable coming back. And so we're going to have to provide some type of education, and the type of education that we could provide is a virtual option.
And I know there were some questions whether we'd be in hybrid or full-time again, and I think that depends on the requirements by the state and social distancing, right? Because it's really a social distance issue in terms of staffing and classrooms.
Correct. I believe the CDC was going to come out with those guidelines, and then how they trickle down to the state. But I was hoping that maybe the state would give school districts an exception, especially those of us that don't have, like our neighbors, 20 to 22 kids in a classroom, so they're able to have all kids come, and still social distance.
Okay, board members, do you have any questions or comments?
So
I do have, go ahead, Maria. Okay, should I go first then?
Go ahead.
So
go ahead, Cecilia, and then Maria can.
Okay, so my question, and I know that somebody in the chat also has the same question, is would you be notifying those teachers that are in distance learning right now if some of those at one point decided they were not going to get vaccinated, if they have changed their mind, that way they can actually get in line and we could have those teachers back?
She lost her. So Cecilia, we lost you a bit towards the end of what you were saying.
Okay, sorry. It's my Wi-Fi. So I'm wondering are you going to notify the teachers that if at one point they say they were not going to get vaccinated, if they've changed their mind? And that similar question is on the chat. Somebody said, if you are going to notify those teachers if they get a weekly email or some sort of notification, and then they said, will you get a list documenting teachers' vaccination?
There is that when the teacher gets vaccinated, what will occur is they will show, they can take a picture of it and just send it to HR, and it'll be documentation on the spreadsheet that said yes, they got vaccinated. The question in regard to, if I heard you correctly or understand correctly, if there's a teacher that is not doing in-person learning now, but if they were to get the vaccine, they would come back and do in-person learning, would I change that? Would I put them in a different section of the priority list? Is that what you were asking me?
Yes, and how would you notify them?
So number one, they need to notify HR right now that getting the they will get the vaccine, and once they get the vaccine, they will come back in person, and then I can adjust on the list.
Will you be sending them an email so that they let you know and notify you guys that they have changed their mind?
What I can do is we can come up with an email for staff, for the teachers, and they can get back to Wendy as soon as possible. I have to have the list. I was told to have it in by Friday.
That was it. Thank you.
Maria, did you have a question or comment?
No.
Okay. Let's see, Janet or Mike?
I don't have any further questions.
No, I mean, it's nice to hear the pushing on the vaccine. I also am glad that you're looking at, whether it's increasing the guest teachers or other ways to encourage more in person at other campuses, in addition to just waiting for the vaccine. I think that's an important thread. So I'm glad to hear that update too. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it was, oh, go ahead.
And then Elisa will let us know if it changes. And any of you that are going to that call tomorrow, elected officials that are going to that call, you may hear, who knows. Normally, if that does happen, what Superintendent McGee does is she sends an email right away, sends all the superintendents an email right away. But
well, I really appreciate all your work and the team's work on basically moving us into phase 3, where we can get more in person through a variety of mechanisms that you talked about tonight. And it is exciting about the vaccinations. I do feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel, finally. So we're getting there. All right. So
just
did you have anything else?
Just to make sure that we really acknowledge all the hard work that our teachers are doing, also not only the teachers that are in person, but the ones that are doing distance learning. It isn't easy. It's a totally different ball game for them. So I just want to acknowledge and thank them for everything that they're doing. All of the teachers, not just the ones that came back and are doing in person, but definitely the ones that are doing, distance learning also, because it's not easy. It isn't easy. You see how we struggle ourselves here with this meeting being virtual. And I know I struggle every time I have a meeting going from one platform to another. So I want to just, acknowledge, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you to all. Yeah, that's a very good reminder. Thank you to all the teachers and all the staff. I think Maria covered all the various classified in her comment tonight. And we do value every single one of our staff. And in fact, I've been in a number of conversations this week and really talking so highly of everybody in our district. And we do have an amazing group of individuals. So thank you for everything you're doing for our students. And I guess we can move on to the next item, unless there's anything more. Okay. All right. So we're on to consent. Do I have a motion to approve?
There's
So
12.2. 31.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Yes. We just took, okay.
It'll be quick. There have been questions.
Okay, 12.2.
There have been questions from community members in regard to Granger Way. And 3150 Granger Way is a school site, which we have, and it's the old Spanish immersion site. So the update to the community is we did work very closely with Stratford for several months, and the board is aware of the work that we did with them and the communication back and forth between our attorney and their attorney. They have decided, Stratford has decided, not to move forward with the Redwood City School District property. Unbeknownst to us, they also did the same thing to San Bruno Park, where they were actually purchasing a school in San Bruno Park, and they pulled out. So they're not in the place right now to become one of our participants who would lease the facility, but we do have our RFP that is out. An RFP is a request for proposal, and it's out with our consultant in many different arenas where he places that information. And we're hopeful that by the end of March, we may hear something soon at that time in regard to a couple entities that are interested in it right now. They haven't started the formal process of giving us a proposal, but they've been talking to our consultant, and I'm unable to say who these two entities are because our attorneys said at this point in time we cannot name anything. So that's the update where we are with it.
Well, thank you. And as we have been, when we're looking at our budget, it is really important that we lease out that site because it does help our bottom line and be able to pay for all the things we want to pay for, right, Priscilla? Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that update. Okay. And thank you, Janet, for helping me out. Appreciate it. Okay. So we're on to 13 consent items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Janet and Cecilia, and roll call, please.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Slocum,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. And just as a reminder, 13, the consent items did include 14.3 and 14.4. So we're on to action items. 14.1, the approval of the tentative agreement.
Thank you. This tentative agreement is being brought to you to increase the health benefits for our CSCA, our classified members. And so the board did hear about this last June. However, there was a communication snafu, and we are now bringing this to you tonight for approval. So this would allow our CSCA members to have an increase in their health benefits, the allocation toward their health benefits. Are there any questions?
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, so Janet and Mike, roll call, please.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Slocum,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. All right, the next one is 14.2, recommendation on the declaration of need.
Thank you. Each year, this declaration of need is brought to the board for consideration in advance for the 21-22 school year. Things move fast in HR. And so when we get to a point, usually in later summer, where we have exhausted all capabilities of hiring certain credentials or what have you, we are looking for interns and those that can support us in the classrooms. This is a document that we bring forward so that we have the capability of hiring emergency credentials, internships, and so interns, credentialed teachers, I should say, and so forth, just so that we don't have to do that in August when we are finalizing our staffing. So we're bringing it to you proactively, early.
Well, I know you have a lot going on, so the more you can do ahead of time, the better, right?
Agreed.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, Maria and Cecilia, roll call, please.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Lawson,
Aye.
Trustee Marquez,
Aye.
Vice President Diaz-Slocum,
Aye.
President McAvoy.
Aye. Okay, so we're on to board and superintendent reports. Who would like to start?
I don't have any.
Thank you, Maria. Janet, you want to go? Oh, Mike, actually,
Yeah.
Mike, great.
Okay, great. We had a bond committee meeting last week. It was pretty quick, as the agenda showed. We did, I went to my first instance of the equity policy committee on yesterday, which was really nice. I only observed because I'm not on the committee, but I got to participate in the breakout rooms. I was in one with Wendy, so that was fun. I was in one with Priscilla. But it was really well run. Thanks, Linda, for putting it together and for bringing all that information. It was 3 hours well spent. And then last night I went to the Henry Ford PTA meeting, which was nice to meet the parents there. It's really hard to get to meet parents in other ways, so it was nice to have kind of a virtual, a virtual meeting there to be able to meet them. And we heard Chuck tonight from the SSC, who was also at the meeting there. And there were a few other familiar faces at the Henry Ford PTA meeting that I'll just leave that report for there.
So I have quite a few. I'll just go through them real quickly. I went to the equity committee meeting that's previous to the one that Mike talked about. I think Elisa and I were both at that one. We've had a couple of workforce housing meetings, chamber education meeting. We had a great presentation from a Stanford pediatrician related to COVID and safety in schools, and a lot of what we've already talked about. We had a bond meeting. We've had a policy committee meeting. Went to the SEPTAR meet and greet at Clifford, and I wanted to thank Leslie Stafford for putting those together. I think those have been really great, and I know it's a lot of work for you attending all of these individual ones at each school say, but I thought it was a great meeting. And then way back towards our last school board meeting, I think Elisa and I attended the I don't remember the abbreviation, but it's the state accreditation meeting where they were, I guess, voting on approving the induction program for another 7 years here. And that went really well. I don't think anybody even had any questions. That was the one I attended before that. There were several questions from the committee members, really singing the praises of our district and Dr. Baker and Michelle and Aaron and everybody. So great job on that. It was unanimously approved. So that was great. I think that's everything I have.
And then I just attended the Superintendent Advisory Council, and that's all I have.
All right, so I was at some of the same things as some of you. I did want to just highlight the accreditation on the induction program. The speaker, I guess it was the reviewers who had reviewed the program who actually got to know us over the course of the many months doing this virtually. And you could tell they were so impressed with our district. And they specifically called out our superintendent, Dr. Baker, because I get a sense in some of the other districts, the superintendents are not as involved. I mean, they definitely made a point of doing that. And then they just said all of the staff, Wendy and Michelle and Aaron and everybody they had interacted with really were just high caliber, all of the materials and just the program itself. So I did just want to highlight that. I think that's a real gem or star, in our district, and we do a really good job on it. And we should really take a moment just to feel good about that. And we have 7 more years, which is fantastic, right? Before we have to go back. I think that's right. And thank you, Janet. I think you served on that committee, so thank you for that. All right, let's see. Equity, I did want to just say that we've had all 3 sessions now, and I know that Dr. Montez is going to give an update on the equity at our board retreat, and that part of the board retreat is an open session. So I want to encourage anybody to listen in on that who's on this call, and it's gone out to everybody. So hopefully we'll have some people who will come and listen and kind of find out where we're at with the equity work we're doing. And thank you very much for all of that, Dr. Montez. Really appreciate it. And actually, a lot of us are on that committee of staff that are here. So that's great. Let's see, we've had a couple of housing meetings. We've met with Sobrato as a check-in, and then we've also been meeting with our consultant, Peter Ingram, the committee has. And I know that that's in our closed session coming up on the retreat, so we'll be talking about that. I had a couple of CSBA board meetings where we talked a lot about reopening and budgets. And I will say on the reopening, you know, there are many districts that have not done any in-person. They're still struggling with just getting devices and internet access out to their students. So I know that we have a lot of struggles of our own. You know, we certainly experienced them, and we talked about some of them tonight. But I think the sense that I got coming out of that meeting is that we've actually, you know, we've done a lot, and we're supporting our kids in a really, you know, I think a really good way in a pandemic, you know, sort of the best that we can. And we ought to feel really good about that, because there's some districts out there that have really struggled with a lot of this. Okay, and then SEPTAR, I did want to just call out Leslie Stafford. Thank you so much, Leslie, for organizing those. It was so meaningful to be there, and I think it's been a really nice connection for the parents at the school sites with special needs students, and just being able to connect. It's hard to do that in this environment that we're in. So Leslie, thank you for making it up. Actually, Leslie and the whole SEPTAR board, actually, right? And then let's see, Cafecito at Hoover. That was a really nice conversation, and it's always good to hear from the parents, particularly. And I think, you know, Dr. Baker, you mentioned this, but some of them would like to come back in person, but they're afraid, and they've got issues at home with they can't quarantine because of work and all of that. So there's a lot of extra work, I think, to do there with our families. So it was good to hear from them. And that's it. And then just other meetings that you guys already mentioned. Okay, Dr. Baker.
I think you mentioned everything. Yes, there was a superintendent's meeting yesterday with all 24 of us, and we went over the vaccine protocols and priorities and groupings. But one thing that I will let you be aware of is that I met with Stanford today, and in meeting with Stanford, do you recall when right before COVID, we were meeting with the group that was going to provide us with some clinical services for not only for our staff, but then it was going to work down to our students. Well, now they're gearing up to start with our teachers and our administrators and other staff. And so at our next board meeting, I hope I can give you some more information of what that will look like. They'll be opening up clinical hours. And during this pandemic, with the stress and anxiety that everyone is feeling, it's something that they've been doing in other school districts within the Bay Area, and was one of the items that they offered to do here with the Redwood City School District with our employees. So I'll bring you more information at our next board meeting about it. Other than that, everything else here you mentioned, I was there.
Okay. All right. So we're on to the informational items. And 16.1, I think what I'm going to do is, just because it's getting late, just kind of quickly, if you've got comments or questions, stop me. How about that? So 16.1 is the contract update information. 16.2 is the review of Connect Community Charter School, their first interim. 16.3, review of Connect Community Charter Schools audit report. 16.4, review of KIP's first interim financial report. 16.5, review of KIP's audit report. 16.6, review of Rocketship's first interim financial report. And 16.7, review of Rocketship's audit report. Any questions, comments? I want to say thank you very much to our budget department. I mean, as you can see, not only do we have our own district that you're managing, all of these reports and audits and everything else, but because we have the 3 charter schools, we're also responsible for oversight of them. So thank you. That's a whole lot of extra work. It's like having 4 school districts in one, right?
Yes. Yes. So we have to do that, same period as we do with the district.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And please thank your team for us.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay. So any correspondence? Yeah, I know we've been getting emails and responding to those, and some people are sending us resources, which is very helpful, right? Thank you for that. Okay, other business suggested items for future agendas? All right, changes to the board agenda schedule, calendar. I know we have a retreat coming up on Friday, and half of it has closed session and the other half in the afternoon is open. So we welcome attendance to the open session. And anything else on that? All right, right before 10 o'clock. That's pretty good because I think, didn't we, well, actually, I don't know if we've adopted it yet, but I think we updated our board policy around a 10 o'clock time frame unless we ask for more time. So that's good. Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Oh, second.
Okay. So Janet and Cecilia and got a little echo there. Okay. So I think we'll go ahead and adjourn. And Kyle, can you send us the chat? There was a lot of things going on in that, and I don't know that I got to everything because it's hard to read the chat and pay attention.
I'll make sure.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks to all our attendees, and nice to see all of you panelists. All right. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.